guys, welcome back to A Good Life Farm. So it is absolutely coming down outside. It has been kind of a mix of rain and then snow and then rain then snow and a little bit of both, and it's just been a hot mess outside, or a cold mess. We are getting that massive winter storm system that is hitting a lot of the country today, and so I thought I'm going to make soup. I am always in the mood for soup. I can eat soup any day of the year. I don't care if it's 100 degrees outside or 20 below. I can eat soup. So today I am making a really easy, really healthy French onion soup. Now, I love onions. When I was a kid, I hated them, and I'm still not a huge fan of raw onions, but man, when you've got a pan full of caramelized onions, I could just eat this with a spoon by itself. So I have 4 onions that have been cooking here low and slow for a good long while. And normally when I make this, I would use ghee or butter, but I was out of ghee, and so I actually substituted some duck fat to cook these onions in. And there was 4 onions that I sliced up real thin, and I put in here with 1/4 cup of the duck fat, and I've just been cooking them low and slow for probably about an hour. You want to do it for at least 30 minutes, but the longer you let it go, the richer the flavor is going to be with those onions. And these things are just like practically dissolved. They are so incredibly tender. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in the rest of my normal ingredients. So I have a clove of minced garlic, and I'm going to add this in first and let that just kind of cook for about a minute or so before I add in the rest of the ingredients, just to kind of give the garlic a little bit of a head start. Well, I'll actually go ahead and put in my salt and pepper while I'm letting that cook. You want about 1/4 teaspoon of some sea salt and 1/2 teaspoon or so of some black pepper. Stir those together. Next, I'm going to add in 4 cups or 1/4 of beef broth. And I have a recipe on how to make your own homemade beef broth. I will put a link to that down below if you're watching this on YouTube. Now I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of red wine. I'm going to add in a bay leaf. And usually I would put in a couple sprigs of some fresh thyme from the garden, but it is miserable, wet, and nasty outside, and so I'm just going to use some of my dry thyme leaves, I would say about a teaspoon or so. And I don't know if the microphone can pick that up, but the bucklings are out there just having a fit. They are not having any of this snow. So now I'm going to bring this mixture up to a boil, and then I'll reduce it down to a simmer and let it simmer for about 20 minutes. That way it gives the bay leaf and the thyme it needs to kind of get that flavor all through there. Now, I am going to make one minor modification to my normal recipe, and that is this: some shredded roast beef. Now, normally French onion soup only has beef broth in it. It doesn't have actual meat. But I had some leftover roast beef that I had made, and I didn't really want it to go to waste. I didn't have a ton of it, maybe about 1.5 cups here, and so I thought, you know what, I'll just go ahead and shred that up and toss it in with the French onion soup because I think that would taste amazing. And look, Mr. Smith is a meat eater and he loves meaty soups. So if I add a little bit of roast beef to this French onion soup, he's gonna love it even more. Now, if you were to order French onion soup in a restaurant, it's usually served in a crock type of dish with a toasted piece of baguette and some shredded Gruyere cheese that's put over the top and then broiled and nice and golden and bubbly. Now, if you wanted to do that, you could certainly go ahead and just toast up some baguette slices and put them on top with shredded cheese. It's usually Gruyere, but you could also use Swiss, and so that's totally an option as well if you wanted to go that route. However, I generally will do it like this because I just enjoy the soup as it is. And of course, if you're doing paleo, you don't want grains and you don't want too much dairy anyways. All right. So I'm going to let this finish coming up to a boil, and then I'll turn it down and let it simmer for 20 minutes and let those herbs that are in there do their thing. So the soup has been cooking and it's pretty much finished. The last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a little bit of slurry to the soup. Now, French onion soup is a thin soup. It's not like a thick, hearty chowder. But I do want to add just a tiny bit of body to the broth. And so what I have here is about 1/4 cup of cold water and a tablespoon of tapioca starch or tapioca flour. And I'm just going to mix these together and I'm going to add them into the soup. And again, just to add a little bit more of body to the broth, not really thicken it up. And we'll just let that cook for a minute or two. So there you go, you guys. That is how you make my very easy French onion soup. As you saw, it's super simple to make. I mean, really the hardest part of it is having the patience to allow the onions to caramelize for as long as you can let them go. And if you hear some crunching, my dogs have just decided that they're hungry and they're eating over there. So there's crunching happening in the background. But that is it. If you would like to make this recipe, I have a printable version of it on my website, and this recipe is on wholesomeskillet.com. I will put a link to that down below if you are watching this on YouTube. So thanks for joining me here again in the Homestead Kitchen. My name is Constance at A Good Life Farm, and I'll talk to y'all next time.